Greetings, everyone. Hope all of you are having an absolutely fantastic day. Finally, we have more details regarding Avowed, the third game in the Pillars of Eternity universe. I am super excited to play this, and I hope all of you are as well. To briefly recap, for those who are not familiar with the Pillars of Eternity series, there have been two previous games, Pillars of Eternity 1 and Pillars of Eternity 2, Deadfire. Both of them are isometric CRPGs, and of course Avowed is an action RPG, so it's going to have a much different style and look and feel to it. Both of the previous games were also highly critically acclaimed for their lore, their writing, the party members, the combat mechanics. There's just a lot to love about Pillars of Eternity overall, which is why I'm so excited to see how Avowed stacks up in comparison. And of course, I'm excited for this game because hopefully, if it does well, we'll get a true Pillars of Eternity sequel to wrap up that overall story, which would be absolutely incredible. I really hope that Josh Sawyer is able to get the budget that he's looking for. So with all of that being said, let's talk about this presentation that Obsidian Entertainment did a couple of days ago during Xbox's showcase. First and foremost, I want to say this presentation of the game was significantly better than the trailer that they originally showed a few months back. Of course, that trailer was, for the most part, poorly received and probably didn't do a good job of selling the game, but I think there's a lot to like about what they have showcased here, and it makes I think all of us much more excited about what Obsidian Entertainment has in store. So first and foremost, they did talk a little bit about quest and how choice and consequence, which has been a major part of the previous Pillars of Eternity games, will definitely play a part in Avowed. Specifically, they walked us through a little bit of a quest where a person has essentially been accused of cowardice, of abandoning his team when they desperately needed him, and consequently they all died, and you have to decide based upon the information provided whether or not you agree with this, or whether or not he just did what he had to do, or his decision making made complete sense. And they reiterated that just like previous Pillars of Eternity games, it's not really going to be about good and evil. There's a lot of gray area in the choices that you can make, and so you kind of come up with your own sense of reality. I definitely enjoy games like Mass Effect where it's clear, all right, this is Paragon, this is Renegade, and you're either on the one side or the other. But I also really appreciate experiences like Witcher and Pillars of Eternity that give you a lot of gray and kind of make your own decision about what is right and what's wrong. So looks like that's the direction Avowed is going. Very nice to see it. It's also nice from the perspective of someone who's been a big fan of the series to see fully animated Amua. That is a unique race in the Pillars of Eternity world. And of course, in the isometric RPGs, you are only ever seeing portraits. We've never had them in full form the way you're going to be able to see in Avowed. The lip syncing was a little bit off in these conversations, but otherwise it was still really cool seeing these characters speak to us, and I'm looking forward to what the full game is going to provide. I've seen some people say that they feel like the game world overall is basically the Outer Worlds with a different coat of paint. I agree from the standpoint that I don't find the graphics to be particularly impressive. I don't think that's going to be a strong point of the game, but I disagree, and I'm probably a little biased on this note because there's so much of what we see that calls back to what we've either seen or read about in the overall Pillars of Eternity world, that it still makes me really excited for it. I feel like from a lore standpoint, it's just going to be incredible walking around here. Whereas I wasn't nearly as impressed with the lore of Outer Worlds in comparison to the Pillars of Eternity universe, and consequently the overall game world couldn't pull me in that same way. So I'm expecting Avowed to be much more engaging than that, but we'll see when the full game actually comes out. It did also seem like we got a brief glimpse of a new party member during this section as well. So looks like she might be a mage. So it'll be interesting to see what the breakdown is of the different party members and what kind of classes they specialize in. It's not clear to me whether or not there's actually going to be classes in this game, or if you're just going to level up based on what you use, similar to like a Skyrim type of system. I personally am really hoping for classes in the game, and every Pillars of Eternity game I've played thus far, I always started as a Cypher. So I am hoping to be able to do that in Avowed as well, or at least play a Chanter, if not that. But it's not clear what kind of options we're going to have. Moving over to combat, to me, it looks like an absolute blast. So Obsidian really emphasized that you can switch between different weapon loadouts. So you can have double wands, double guns, a bow and arrow, a shield and wands, and you can just switch between different types of weapon sets on the fly to really give you a lot of variety in the options you could deploy during combat. I know there's a lot of people who are going to absolutely love this. I'm a simple guy when it comes to combat, so switching back and forth between 3 or 4 different sets doesn't appeal to me that much, but I'm definitely glad that it's there. I plan to rock the double pistols, or at least a shield and a pistol for my first run, and I love having those double flintlocks in that first person view. Really cool stuff. And it seems like, at least hopefully, enemies will provide a challenge that measures up to the options that you have. So Obsidian mentioned different enemies will have different focuses. So some will focus on healing other enemies that you're going up against. Some of them will be heavy melee characters, different specializations. And so you have to use a lot of tactics when you're approaching large enemy groups, because you want to quickly eliminate those who are essentially making your life hell. Really cool stuff. It'll be interesting to see how engaging with large enemy groups works from the standpoint of managing your party members. I believe you're only able to have 2 party members with you at one time, but it's not clear yet. Do you have to manage their health? Do you have to try to keep them out of harm's way? Do you direct their movements? Or do they kind of just do their own thing based upon AI that you have set up? It's not clear, especially because you can't see any of the interface in the gameplay footage that they are showing. So it'll be really interesting to see how cumbersome or how fluid the system is as far as making your party members effective. That's something that's really important to me. I prefer party-based games, and games that allow you to have a party but at the same time make your party members ineffective in combat is a huge pet peeve with me, and that's probably one of my main concerns when I look at some of this footage. It's not clear what triggers party members to act in a certain way. And then the last thing I'll point out from this footage is that it seems like we have a really nice variety of enemies, which I love. It's so annoying to play games where it seems like you're facing the same types of enemies over and over again. And enemy variety is a strong point of the series overall, and it's nice to see that carry over into Avowed. Seeing the fully animated versions of the Zora and giant spiders and enemies of that nature should be absolutely fantastic. Really looking forward to deploying different spells and abilities against them. Oh, and before I forget, there is actually one more point. They did confirm that Avowed will release sometime in the fall, which is great for me, because even though we did a full live stream of Pillars of Eternity Deadfire, I never actually did content for the game. So I still need to drop a review, a player's guide, and of course we're going to rank the different classes. So this gives me time to get all of that content out, and we can have a conversation about it. And I'll probably at some point end up doing another live stream of either Pillars of Eternity or Deadfire again prior to Avowed coming out, so that we can get refreshed on all the lore and the characters, some of whom Obsidian already confirmed will show up in Avowed. And so I definitely want us to be able to notice all those little connections as they come up. So a lot to look forward to. Again, really excited for Avowed. Cannot wait to get this game in my hands, and I'll absolutely keep all of you in the loop regarding any news that comes out about it. Hope all of you enjoyed this video. Take care.